do was follow the Bible's admonition to trust and obey. He would take care of all the rest. Indeed, he has. Over the years, through various times of good and bad, hard and easy, God's great peace and joy has never left. He has led me down different paths and brought me into his work as an international Bible teacher. He supernaturally sent me my small media empire and gave me impressionable young people to run it. In Jesus' name.
What about goddess? There's no goddess in that diatribe.
So do you think maybe he originally started the Howie Rose Show kind of thinking that he would eventually kind of mold it into, like, NASCAR is like, it's no longer just this marginal little, we drink Miller, Schlitz, and eat hot dogs kind of like trailer trash. No. NASCAR is like, I think it's got to be America's most popular sport just right about now. Because they have like 6 hours worth of pregame. They call it pregame or pre-race show. It's like serious. I mean, it's the most serious thing on TV. I can't believe what a serious thing NASCAR is. I've never seen it, from the time of youth. And they have a woman come up and sing the national anthem, and everyone stands. It's like a real sporting event. And then
So
after
you're saying it's not a real sporting event?
Is synchronized swimming a real sporting event?
That is a question that probably deserves a whole show.
Okay. And after the woman singing it wasn't a black woman, it wasn't even a heavy-set woman, it was a very thin-featured white woman singing the national anthem. Everyone stood, and everyone took off their baseball cap and let the sun beat down on their very short haircut heads there for the duration of the entire song. I was very concerned about them. And then afterwards, they had a preacher guy come up and say a whole prayer, and it was like, and it ended with Lord, we pray today for safety and pleasure in Jesus' name. And I just was on the floor rolling, and everyone I was with was looking at me like, what's his problem? Safety and pleasure in Jesus' name.
I think I read that on a Christian condom once.
Exactly.
Oh, sorry. Not allowed to go there? Sorry.
A caller said that NASCAR is the largest spectator sport in America.
Jesus.
God bless him.
Jesus.
God bless him. Will you hand that mic to Ninja? I'm so afraid she's going to run away and never come back because I haven't figured out a way to structure the show such that she gets all the ampo ego stroking time she so desperately needs.
I need nothing. I'm listening.
The caller wanted to ask you a question. Have the caller call back.
Give the producer back the mic.
No, I was just...
So much for ego.
That caller who wants to talk to the guest, you can call back now.
Oh yeah, caller, if you want to talk to the guest about Hawaii and stockbroking, call back. So, okay,
There it is.
I really want to have you back on again, W, to talk more about...
I think it has to be after you have your Lomi.
Yeah.
It has to be experiential.
I want to continue this. I want to continue interweaving the stock brokerage world, or whatever you would accurately know, the trading world, and the Lomi. I want to, because I think that makes a fascinating juxtaposition,
Right,
as it were.
No cursing. Okay.
Would you be into coming back?
Oh, sure.
And
We're saying okay.
sorry, I had your mic down a little.
What's that? Yeah, you should.
We're gonna put the caller on the air with the question. Caller, you're live on the air. No swearing. Yes, hello, caller. Can you hear me? Wow. Well, thanks for listening.
Loving the place. I was wondering where, roughly on the island, you received your training, because I know how important the energy of the island is when you're there, if you're in tune with that sort of stuff. And I know how different the energies are, on each corner of the island sort of thing. So I was wondering where, you got your training, because that will help me imagine what you were doing better.
Well, 4 years ago, the first training was on top of Waimea in Kokei State Park.
Oh, I can hardly hear you, brother.
Oh, you can't hear me?
Oh, there we go. Sorry about that.
Hear me better now?
You're not.
Are you there?
Yeah. If we got this 7-second delay going, it's problematic.
Oh.
Yeah, he's there. He's there. Go ahead.
Okay, Waimea.
Oh,
Kokei State Park 4 years ago.
Give him the phone.
I need. Okay. And then after that, it's been in Anahola. Anahola is the first town going up north. It's the first town considered up in the north. Anahola, then Kilauea, then Hanalei, Princeville. So Anahola's tiny. It's really back, it's like not commercial at all. There's very little there. Yeah, that's what's good about Anahola. And in Anahola, there's a place called the Taro Patch. It's 60 acres. And this guy John Pia has a non-profit. He's a Hawaiian. He runs it as a non-profit, and he grows taro there. It's on the Anahola River. He's built a hula platform, and he rents it out for weddings and parties. Pia, P-I-A. Yeah.
Caller, what's your name? Jean-Paul, where are you calling from?
North Union Street.
All right.
Let's see if we can get the energy grid of North Union Street.
Have you spent much time on Kauai?
Well, not much, but it was sort of a transformational time for me. It was like 3 weeks. I spent most of it in Colorado.
Is that the Hanging Valley? Oh no, that's Nepali, North Coast. Did you get up there and get into the Hanging Valley?
Well, I don't know if I saw the Hanging Valley, but I did the Nepali hike, and I went up into the valley, the Colorado Valley, a fair amount.
Yeah, that's the wettest place on the earth, they say.
I know, yeah. The waterfall that I saw come off the top of the volcano, just from Hanalei, and that's quite a distance away. It was sort of impossible for the whole silhouette of the mountain was taken up by a waterfall. It's inconceivable in a way.
Wow.
But the main, for me, the most interesting in a way was the difference in energy between like the westernmost point and and like 20 miles down the coast in Colorado. I don't know if you were there.
Well, if you take the road and you can't drive anymore to the west, you come to this giant sign that says, "Property of the United States government. Please, no pictures, turn around, you are trespassing." And you get the feeling like you're in a...
Probably Howie or...
Well, I'm not good at names. Yeah, but just
Did
go...
someone say Howie?
It's near Barking Sands Beach.
Listen, I hate to cut this short, but it could only be of interest to people who,
No one, yeah.
So call Jean-Paul. Would you like a pair of tickets to see American Head tonight at the Space above Battery Street Jeans? Okay, well we'll put you back on with our producer and see what we can do for you. Thanks for calling and listening. Great.
Okay.
So yeah, let's have you on again to talk after we've had some more experiential interaction with the Lomi Lomi, and let's see where the weaving of commodities trading and Lomi Lomi eventually leads us.
All right.
So I want to thank you for coming on, especially with this kind of short notice, and I want you to feel free to stick around and chime in from the cheap seats.
I've been doing that. Yeah.
Next on the show, and thank you for bringing this Hawaiian music. It's very unusual compared to what we usually have for music here in the Howie Rose Show.
No problem.
Is there anything you wanted to say? I'm sorry to have to get you off the main mic. But
No, that's cool. I like your show. I like listening to your
thanks.
show.
Thanks. It's not my show, it's our show.
Oh, it's the show.
Yeah, and in fact, if the show is anyone's show, it's that man's show right there. Promo. Big round of applause, Pro. Woo!
Whoa!
Because what I do is easy. What he does requires forethought and organization and dedication and commitment and and skill, organizational skill. That's something I hope someday to emulate.
Consistency.
And what about the rest of your
Oh well, this
group
is the lovely and talented Ninja, who I'm afraid I'm gonna board. And I'm trying to figure out how to weave her into the very fabric of the show. And this is our technical director, Simply, who's such embodies technicalness that we just call him Simply, because he's simply technical direction embodied. And check out those pants. Check out the pockets on those pants. I mean, check out those jeans. I almost bought a pair of jeans like that at a St. Vincent de Paul this weekend in New Jersey or Pennsylvania or somewhere. But I was too chicken because I thought, I'm not cool enough to wear pants like these. These are too friggin' fashionably retro.
I was given these jeans, so I actually am not cool enough to actually have bought to be able to
No,
carry that off, but they were given to.
much cooler to be given something than to crassly pay for it. With
Something about receiving and
Yeah.
giving. And
plus, you know, the bacteria on money. I just read this study on like all the bacteria on money.
And cocaine.
Oh, yeah.
Cocaine.
Yeah, almost every
Cocaine.
single dollar bill in America has a
Is-
trace amount of cocaine on it.
Yeah, like actually enough that if
Come
you
on,
licked,
that's
That was
licked
true in
5 of them,
1981.
you'd get a buzz.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
Well,
I
that's
don't
my
think it's from
experience.
It's from the ink. Soy ink
We're
they
gonna have
use
to do a bit on the
money.
show at some point about why that is, or how the chemistry of cocaine that it obviously must spread infinitely.
Well, no, you know what it is. It's
No, what
because
is it?
people snort it through bills.
Yeah, but how is it that almost every single dollar bill in America has a trace amount of
Because
cocaine?
there's a lot of people smoking
No.
snorting cocaine.
It must be because there's something about the nature of cocaine that makes it able to become incredibly minute and yet still exist and be
think you're-
measurable.
I
Kind
think
of like
you're
anthrax.
in denial about how much cocaine usage there is in America.
No, I think
Because if there's enough cocaine usage, the dollar bill that you're holding wasn't that long ago that somebody was snorting some cocaine with it.
Plus, we all know people use only $100 bills to do that.
Well,
Cocaine snorting, right?
that's the rich folk in the '80s, but now it's all about
I'm not rich.
dollar bills.
It's not the 80s.
Turn down,
You don't have any dollar bill.
turn down the background music. It seems loud.
Huh?
The music is loud, isn't it?
The music's loud, yeah. Okay.
Let's bring Mike in and take a public service break. Bring the
Oh
next
yeah,
guest.
are we?
Fluoride
We need
Mike.
to do a PSA, don't we?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, W, thanks for being on. We'll have to have you back again soon.
All right,
PSA
I'm
is-
out of here.
PSA is ready, number 1.
We'll be
CD1.
right back with an expose on fluoride in Burlington's drinking water.
CD1.
Right after this public service announcement.
What is your story?
It's my story.
Yeah, I want to hear you on the air. So my interest is peaked
Alright.
now.
Okay, you know what I want to do? Hey, simply, could you grab the stool?
I couldn't find the stool. Can
Here,
someone
what's
get Mike? Let Mike in.
Yeah, I want to have like you sitting here. I want Mike on the stool.
About fluoride?
Yeah. I mean, I know it's not exactly your favorite subject in the world.
Hey, how do you know?
I'll have to send you to my favorite dude, John Licio.
I've already done
Mr. F, come on in.
All right.
I really got beat up. I'm just starting to realize how sore I am. Oh, can I use this mic right here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's get the cord.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Turn it off.
Yes, yeah. So tomorrow,
it's off.
It's off.
Tomorrow.
late morning,
Yeah, whenever.
we'll get together and trade.
Yeah, where are you going to be?
I don't know exactly.
Where you going
Yeah.
today?
I usually just do the post-show hangout thing. Maybe Channel 15.
Yeah. Well, call me later.
Yeah, oh, I'm getting together with someone that I haven't seen in a while. So.
Okay. Time's up.
Okay.
Good show. Good
We're
show.
back.
guys.
Right
Here
on.
live
Oh,
on
did you
Howie
get your
Rose
CD,
Show,
Mark?
the professional talk show
Your other one's in there.
happening on Friday mornings.
CD
on the
2.
Oh, we went back in there?
Yep, went back in there.
My name's F. P. Cassini. I'm sitting in
Can you
for Howie
take
Rose.
it?
Our guest for this
of course,
next
of course.
3/4 hour is the inimitable Mr. F. It sounds like there's a Simon Garfunkel going on in the background. It sounds like the beginning of Homeward Bound. That little acoustic guitar riff. Maybe it was wishful thinking on my part. Let's listen to some more Richard Clayderman, unless you have some other ambient background music, Mr. Producer. I love this guy. He puts my mind at ease. Or we could also. I'm sorry.
Who is this?
Richard Clayderman. I know you're an Al Stewart fan, so it's not. It's not that much of a stretch from Al Stewart to Richard Clayderman.
No.
Yeah. Oh. I don't know if that's not our bag. Hold on. They want us to play Danzig.
Danzig.
The caller wants to hear Danzig. It's very funny because I'm actually having in my possession today a Misfits CD.
Yes.
I think it's Collection Volume 2, if I recall.
Misfits is so much cooler than Danzig.
Yeah, I know, really.
So
Give me a
okay.
break, caller. Danzig. And we can talk Misfits. We could even possibly talk Sam Hain. But, come on, Danzig.
Danzig?
I mean, unless you're going to tell me, like, the first album's worth listening to or something, and maybe I haven't heard it or something. But caller, thanks for listening to the Howie Rose Show. And we have a super Black Market Clash here queued up, ready to go at some point when we want to rock out. Hey, you like all my new records? I went record shopping this week in Philadelphia. You like that John Peel Sessions sampler? That's your speed. It should be anyway. Of course, you don't even know who Sham 69 is, so
Right.
you're not as cool as I thought.
Yellow.
But then again, I'm an ABC fan, so it's not like I'm any cooler than
Be
anyone
near
else.
me.
Okay,
Be near
let's get
me.
serious now. What is it you're here to share with us? And I'm sorry that we've, it's obviously going to be a tri-segment expose. Did you recognize the tune? The original
I
play
do
ever?
recognize too. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, trying to think of what it is.
Well, we'll sing the chorus when it comes around. Let's speed it up here.
Oh yes, okay, I know what it is.
What is it?
It's a Rod Stewart song.
It's not a Rod Stewart song.
No.
How deep is
Oh,
your
it's the
love?
Bee Gees.
Your
Okay.
love, how deep is your love?
If you go down a little bit, actually.
Huh?
Turn it down a little bit, the music.
Oh.
If you want it as a background, it's a little.
Everyone sing. Okay.
Can you scoot back?
I see you have a W. Mercy. Is this in memoriam for the recent passing?
He actually was a pianist before he was ever a comedian.
Really?
Yeah.
Mr. Fluoride,
Okay,
let's
well,
get
just
serious.
to give a little bit of context to this discussion on fluoride, bit of interesting history. There's a great article written recently in The Nation magazine called The Secret History of Lead. And it talks about how industry in the 1920s and 30s successfully lobbied to start adding lead to gasoline. For various reasons, it would be profitable for industry to add lead to gasoline. The article goes into the details of why. But after reading the article, it's interesting because there's many parallels between the history of lead and the history of fluoride. And a couple of them are the following. One, first thing industry tried to do back in the 20s was lobby the U.S. Public Health Service and the Surgeon General to get their endorsement of adding lead to gasoline. And they did. The Surgeon General in the early 1930s said leaded gasoline is perfectly safe, and likewise the U.S. Public Health Service. And one of the ways that industry successfully lobbied the government to support leaded gasoline was they used this industrial lab, this industrial think tank called the Kettering Institute, based in Cincinnati. And the Kettering Institute was essentially the lab that industry would go to provide the science to support, to say that certain toxins were safe, and to reduce liability for industry. So the Kettering Institute was used heavily by industry to say that leaded gasoline was perfectly safe. And in fluoride, same thing happened. Aluminum industry, steel industry, most major industries in the United States, like the steel, aluminum, and defense industry, had and still have a serious fluoride pollution problem. It's somewhat, it's less so today. But what the industry did back in the 20s and 30s is they went to the Kettering Institute, and the Kettering Institute was saying low levels of fluoride, perfectly safe, perfectly safe, perfectly safe. And the Kettering Institute produced much of the science by which fluoridation became accepted, water fluoridation, the adding of fluoride to the water supply. And so anyway, you have in the 30s, you have industry successfully lobbied, convinced the U.S. Public Health Service that lead is perfectly safe, thanks primarily to the Kettering Institute. And so they start adding lead to gasoline, and about a decade later, they start adding fluoride to the water supply. And we now know, of course, that leaded gasoline is seriously affected the mental development of millions of children in this country, and it's been taken out of gasoline. And I think we're going to be seeing soon that we're going to start taking fluoride out of the water supply because there's been a lot of health risks that have been discovered since the adding of fluoride to the water.
Okay. Now, regarding this analogy, or parallel to lead being put in gasoline, what was the motivation for those who sought to add lead to gasoline?
It was essentially a cheaper way of, I'm not exactly clear on the details. The article in The Nation, The Secret History of Lead, I would recommend. gives a good sense of why industry wanted to do that and how they managed to get it in there. And they knew about the health risks back then. They knew about the health risks of lead in gasoline.
What issue of the Nation is that article in?
It was published sometime in the year 2000. I'm not exactly sure. But if you went to Google and just typed in the secret history of lead, I'm sure you'd find it.
And flashlight
Okay.
myself.
So you're just drawing. There's no direct link between the lead.
No
It's
direct.
just an
But I'm
interesting
glad
parallel.
you're
Interesting
listening.
parallel.
Okay,
And
I was so excited.
I think it also
have that
raises a
clash
larger
conversation
issue with
that
fluoride, which I'm
to go all
particularly
morning.
interested in, is in the 20th century, few, if any, air pollutants cause more damage.
Well, I kept interrupting
Than
the
fluoride.
conversations and
And that's something, like,
Are you saying fluoride is an air pollutant?
fluoride is a major air pollutant. Today, it's the 6th most emitted hazardous air pollutant in the United States. And it caused, for instance, just between 1953 and 1960, in one county in Florida, where the phosphate fertilizer industry is primarily based, fertilizer industry emits a lot of fluoride. In fact, we get our fluoride chemicals from the air pollution control equipment of the fertilizer industry. And between the year 1953 and 1960, 30,000 cattle in Polk County died. And they died because of fluoride poisoning from the fluoride emissions of the fertilizer industry. And that story can be repeated many fold across the country. In Washington, in Ohio, in Ontario, and actually I live in northern New York, in Canton, New York, which is around 30 minutes away from Cornwall Island where the Akwesasne Reservation is.
Mm-hmm.
And their cattle population from the year 1959 to 1979 was almost decimated. I mean, there's some cattle left remaining, but they once had a thriving cattle industry or dairy cattle in Akwesasne Reservation. But over 20 years, their cattle just began dying, began getting crippled, and their teeth fell out. And they had stillborns and abortions. And the reason is they lived 8 miles downwind of Reynolds Aluminum, and Reynolds Aluminum was emitting vast amounts of fluoride, and the cattle developed something called fluorosis and died. And that's, again, one story of a number, and many other communities face such similar situations. And I guess what I'm interested in is how, over a matter of 50 years, this very serious industrial pollutant, which was of great liability to industry, how it has been transformed in the public consciousness to something akin to calcium, or a nutrient that you want to give to your child. Many people probably maybe many people out there probably had fluoride supplements when they were a young kid. But it really has been a sort of public relations coup, and it's something which the environmental community, I think, needs to pay greater attention to, because it's really been off their radar. And I think industry has been successful in taking attention away from fluoride as an air pollutant. And I think that what's needed now is for more environmental groups to start addressing the issue critically.
Okay. Do you want to take a call? You want a quick question?
Calls would be great.
Okay. Hello, caller. What's your name? Hi, Jennifer. Can you speak up a little loud? Oh, hold on 1 second. We have to. Okay. How's that? Jennifer, where are you calling from? Okay. Don't use the mouthpiece. Just use that. Yeah. Jennifer, what's your question? Ah.
Great question. Great question.
Thanks for calling,
Thank you
Jennifer.
for your call, Jennifer.
The dose is the poison, right? And there's no denying that. However, as to whether fluoride is an essential nutrient, the answer is no. According to the National Academy of Sciences and the U.S. government, there has never been a study to show that fluoride is needed for the prevention of any disease.
Basically, a substance is classified as essential if a human disease is caused by a deficiency of that substance. However, no human disease, including dental decay, is caused by a lack of fluoride. So fluoride is not an essential nutrient.
Well, that I mean, perhaps we shouldn't have hung up with Jennifer so soon, because if maybe she has more data or a source she can refer us to support her claim that fluoride is an essential nutrient, she could call us back 656-4399. Or if someone else does, you're directly contradicting what she seemed to be saying.
Well, I think she was asking if she thinks it's an essential nutrient. She could. I mean, I think it would be great to get the reference. But
is that a commonly held idea that fluoride is an essential nutrient? I mean, I think it's commonly held that it helps prevent tooth decay. But
well, I think that's what's happened. I think over this period of the last half century, you've had it. I think in the public mind, fluoride is generally seen as something like calcium. It's good for your teeth. It's good for your bones, and and the notion that it's essential, I think, is a popularly held concept. But again, I think it's a notion which has been sort of constructed through some very well-financed public relations, and with
right.
Yeah.
Right. Do you want to talk more specifically? I mean, that seems to be the big high-profile issues, like fluoride in our drinking water in order to prevent tooth decay. Isn't that why they put it in there?
Yeah, it was
same reason it's in the toothpaste itself.
Yeah, and one I think important point in this whole discussion is that when they started adding fluoride to the water supply back in the early 1950s in the United States, they believed that you had to swallow fluoride to have a benefit. The notion was that you swallow fluoride when you're young. As your teeth develop, the enamel of your tooth is going to get the fluoride in it. It's going to make your tooth stronger for life. So it's a systemic benefit. You swallow fluoride and it helps your teeth.
Now, did the dental industry, were they interested in doing this, or were they opposed to doing it?
Oh no, they came on board. The ADA in 1943 was very much opposed to fluoridation. They were concerned about health risks and whatnot. But 7 years later, when the U.S. government began promoting it rather emphatically, the ADA came on board and began promoting it, has been promoting ever since, despite the fact that between 1943 and 1950 there were no studies to suggest that low levels of fluoride were safe. So it was more of what you'll find of fluoridation. It's been a very much of a house of cards, a political, more politics and science in the support of it. However, going back to how fluoride works, when they started fluoridation, they thought it was a systemic benefit, that you had to swallow it. However, now today, even the U.S. government, which is the main proponent of fluoridation, even they concede that fluoride works primarily topically, that it works when it's applied directly to your tooth. And what we're saying is if it's a topical benefit and the risks of fluoride are systemic, i.e. the risks from fluoride exposure come when you swallow the stuff, then it makes more sense to use fluoride topically, like with fluoride toothpaste. And in fact, that's what Western Europe did. Western Europe, on large, rejected fluoridation. 98% of Western Europe, including France, Germany, Austria, Netherlands, Sweden, Netherlands, you name it, except for Ireland and a little bit of England, has rejected fluoridation. And they use but they use fluoridated toothpaste. And the results, Western Europe has the same low level of dental decay today as the United States does, and they've had the same decline in dental decay as the United States over the past 50 years. So, evidence suggests that you can use fluoridated toothpaste is just as effective, and one of the benefits of using fluoridated toothpaste instead of adding fluoride to the water is you respect the notion of informed consent. Because one of the problems with fluoridation is that you're adding a prescription drug, because you can't get a systemic fluoride product over the counter. You have to get a prescription by a doctor due to the health risks involved. However, with water fluoridation, you're adding this substance to everyone's water supply, whether they want it or need it or not. And you're adding it to people with bad kidneys, and if you have bad kidneys, you accumulate much more of the fluoride. Fluoride is, by the way, a bioaccumulative toxin. It accumulates in our body. 50% of the fluoride you ingest every day accumulates primarily in your bones. And there's been 11 studies since 1990 to suggest that fluoridated water increases the rate of hip fracture, which is one of the concerns.
So accumulating fluoride in the bones is not good for bones.
Yeah, and again, they used to think back in the 60s, based on very limited data, that fluoride may be good for bones. However, clinical trials in the late 1980s found that people given high doses of fluoride
had increased rates of hip fracture. And in light of those studies, there have been 19 studies in the last 10 years to see if fluoridated water increases the risk of hip fracture. And 11 of those studies have found, yes, that fluoride does increase the risk of hip fracture. And hip fracture is a very serious thing, too, because if you're old and you have a hip fracture, 20% chance you're going to die, and 20% chance you're going to never have an independent existence ever again.
Wow. Yeah. Right. Osteoporosis being the kind of a rampaging, almost epidemic, it seems, among older women.
Yeah.
These days, that's of special concern to them. Now, a lot of people, avoid tap water, avoid drinking tap water.
Mhm.
You know, they got their Brita filter or whatever. And then they're not really clear why they're doing it. Are they doing it because of fluoride? Are they doing it because of chlorine? Are they doing it because of lead, other heavy metals? Are they doing it because of little, organisms that they're afraid they're going to get parasites or something? And generally speaking, this group of people I'm talking about, people who wish to be informed, but really, it isn't their main focus in life. I've noticed when it comes to boiling water for tea, they take it right out of the tap. Because they're like, oh, well, boiling it kills whatever's bad with it.
Yeah.
Now, I imagine that this is not really the case from the point of view of fluoride.
Actually, that's one of the problems with fluoride. So if you boil water, the fluoride actually concentrates in the water.
Is that because the steam is evaporating, leaving the fluoride behind?
Yeah, exactly.
So relative to the amount of water you end up with, the mineral content is increased.
And for actually for those with Britas do not remove the fluoride.
Britas do not remove fluoride.
Yeah, and actually there's two ways to remove fluoride from tap water. One is to buy a reverse osmosis filter. It's the only kind of filter that will remove the fluoride. And reverse osmosis filters are pretty expensive. I think they range from something like $500 to $1,500.
I see.
Oh, you can get some for like a couple.
Get on the
hundred.
mic.
Oh, you can. Okay.
Yeah. There are organizations that sell them for like $100, $200 that are lower quality ones, but they'll work.
Okay, that's cool. And then the other way, so there's reverse osmosis. The other way of removing fluoride is distillation. But distillation is problematic because you remove all the good stuff from the water too. So if there's calcium, magnesium in the water, that's gone. So I think if you're going to filter, go for reverse osmosis.
Now, are there any commonly used water filters that aren't the aren't the cheapo units like Britas, but hook up to the water, the tap, the faucet, that aren't reverse osmosis?
I think one's called activated carbon filter. And that, some people claim it removes the fluoride, but it's from what I've read, it's not reliable, and you can't. It's if you're gonna get a filter, go for reverse osmosis.
Reverse osmosis.
And it's one of the problems with fluoride. It's one of the hidden costs of fluoridation. Is that once you fluoridate a water supply, especially now in light of like a lot of health risks, which we can go into sometime today or later on, but once you fluoridate a water supply, a lot of people in that community, and I think increasingly so today, are going to have to buy reverse osmosis. So, and they're still going to have to pay for the water. They're still going to have to pay for the public water. And they're going to have to buy reverse osmosis, which can be a substantial investment. So, and again, all of that can be avoided. And this is, I think, the main point when it comes down to it. The benefits of fluoride are topical. The risks of fluoride are systemic. So it's better to not add fluoride to everyone's water supply, but if people can't afford fluoridated toothpaste, then have a subsidy so that poor families can have fluoridated toothpaste. But it just makes more sense from an ethical and medical point of view to use topical fluoride instead of fluoridated water.
Well, as you present it, it seems pretty cut and dry. Maybe we can search out, or maybe you can help us search out someone on the other side of the issue to come in here and present that point of view.
I would love that. In fact, however, it's sometimes difficult to find someone. Usually, the supporters of fluoridation are coming from, from U.S. Public Health Service or health departments, and often they don't like to debate the issue. However, if we could, I think that would be wonderful. I think it would be wonderful because I do think in Burlington we should reconsider whether we want to fluoridate water. And actually, speaking of which, Bennington, Vermont, and Brattleboro, Vermont, in the last 2 years have both voted against fluoridated
really?
water. Yeah.
Based on the scientific evidence you're recounting for us now?
Yeah, and based on and also the common sense issue of using of not putting fluoride in everyone's water supply, which would violate the idea of informed consent.
How many other communities across America have taken fluoride out of the water?
Well, since 1999, there have been 50 communities that have voted against fluoridation. Recently, Colorado Springs, Kennewick, Washington, Worcester, Massachusetts, Modesto, California.
So my gosh, it must be easy to replicate their arguments and therefore their process in getting that done.
Yeah, I think what we found is if anyone takes the time, just a little bit of time to read for themselves about this issue, it's really a no-brainer. However, fluoridation continues because it's a non-issue for many people. However, I think when people start reading about it, they'll be shocked, I think, at what they find because some of the health risks are pretty profound. You have greater risk of lower thyroid activity, hypothyroidism from fluoride exposure, various types of cancer, hip fractures we mentioned earlier, arthritis, increased accumulation of aluminum in the brain. And aluminum in the brain, of course, has been associated with Alzheimer's disease. And we can go into more detail with any of those concerns. But again, all of these risks come when you swallow fluoride. And
so you do advocate fluoride
Spit,
toothpaste?
don't swallow.
well, I personally don't use fluoridated toothpaste because I think the benefits of fluoride in general have been overblown. For instance, here's an interesting fact. 85% of dental decay that exists in the United States today occurs in what's called pit and fissure cavities. And those are the cavities that occur in the chewing surface of the teeth. And even the dental establishment concedes that fluoride, both topical and systemic, do very little to prevent that type of cavity. Even though it's the most predominant cavity, chewing surface cavity, the dental establishment concedes that if you want to prevent that type of cavity, you have to get sealants, and fluoride won't do the job. But yes, if I say that, the way I look at it, I don't use fluoridated toothpaste. Fluoride's an active pesticide. You're swishing an active pesticide in your mouth. It can get through the gum membrane. I generally, and there's some question about whether oral cancer is increased by regular use of fluoridated toothpaste. I go and get unfluoridated toothpaste from the co-op. However, for those who do want fluoride, for those who are, want to make that decision, I suggest using fluoridated toothpaste, but not advocating adding fluoride to everyone's water supply.
Why are you advocating the use of fluoridated toothpaste when you yourself won't use fluoridated toothpaste?
Because I think I guess it's respecting the notion that everyone is informed consent. The individual can look at the data themselves, look at the literature themselves, and make their own decision about whether the risks outweigh the benefits or the benefits outweigh the risks. For me, I think it's clearly that the risks outweigh the benefits. However, if you're going to advocate fluoride, I'm going to say, well, use fluoridated toothpaste on your own, but don't advocate adding fluoride to everyone's water.
But you're not only advocating, you're also educating, because I would imagine that the majority of the listeners right now weren't aware of anything before you began to speak of it. And so I'm just curious as to why you are coming on to talk. I mean, you talked for a good half hour about not fluoridating water, which is I'm in agreement with you after this conversation, but then advocating the use of fluoridated toothpaste when you don't even use it yourself is just
Wait, he's
kind
not
of
advocating
interesting.
it. He's just
No,
saying
he
for
was
those...
advocating it. He was saying that fluoridated toothpaste is better for you than fluoridated water.
That I would say it is better for you.
And I agree with you.
Or
And
not
I
bad.
see your point and I hear what you were saying the entire time, and I think that you were informing people. I just find it interesting that at the end of the conversation, you're like, oh no, I don't do that either.
Yeah.
But you were very informative, and I think that it was a helpful conversation.
I think it's a great point. In fact, I work for a coalition called Fluoride Action Network, and that's been a big controversy within this coalition. Do you advocate fluoridated toothpaste or don't you? And I guess the discussion goes the following way. It's sort of like it's more of it's almost like a compromise of sorts. If you say no to fluoride toothpaste, it's more difficult to get. I guess it's sort of a compromise of sorts, and it seems to be. I see it as an effect.
Well, which is more available, non-fluoridated toothpaste or fluoridated toothpaste?
If you go to a grocery store, a regular grocery store or drugstore, you will not hardly ever be able to find a non-fluoridated toothpaste.
Okay, earlier in the conversation you were talking about subsidies for people that maybe aren't able to afford fluoridated toothpaste, to buy fluoridated toothpaste, but now you're saying that it's readily available.
Oh, there's a glut of fluoride products on the market.
Yeah.
So you have to go somewhere, quote unquote special, like the co-op, which many people don't have access to. I mean, the people in Burlington do,
Exactly.
but like somebody else doesn't. To go and get a non-fluoridated toothpaste.
Exactly.
So
Really,
that's
you can't find a non-fluoridated toothpaste in the supermarket.
Nope. I mean, it's very rare.
Uh-huh.
I mean, literally, there's no choice available.
No, Tom's.
Yes, but Tom's.
That's not in every supermarket.
You have to be careful with Tom's because Tom's does have most of its fluoride. Most of its toothpastes are fluoridated.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to look. You have to actually look at the ingredients to see that there's not calcium fluoride in there.
We have a
They,
call.
they have listed which ones like are fluoridated or not by. It'll actually say on the front.
You want to be on the air?
Yeah, that.
First thing you
And if you go to the co-op and ask for a non-fluoridated toothpaste, and actually I think people out there, it might be a good idea to suggest to the co-op and to their grocery store to begin getting a non-fluoride alternative and increasing the availability of non-fluoride.
Yeah, I mean,
toothpaste.
all toothpaste is labeled. All toothpaste says clearly on it whether it has. If
What
it
is
has
the
fluoride, it
technical
all says
term?
with fluoride pretty
Typical
clearly.
sodium monofluoride.
There's various types of, like Tom's uses calcium fluoride, some use sodium monofluorophosphate or something. And sometimes it's difficult because it is the fluoride. You might not recognize that as being fluoride based on the ingredient.
Oh,
What
really?
about
That's-
bottled water?
We got
That's
a
interesting.
caller.
Let's
Let's
take
take
a real
a
quick call. Hi, caller. You're on the air. What's your name? Did we turn this thing on?
Yep, it should be on.
Hello, caller. Can you hear me? It's the delay is messing up, I think. Hello.
It's not there. Is he there?
Hello. You got to turn up your radio.
Well,
Okay. Oh well.
It's not
Okay,
there.
well, and just to go to a quick point about fluoridation, I think for people to consider, is that the fluoride products that you use in toothpaste
Right.
and fluoride supplements is a pharmaceutical grade fluoride. However, the fluoride product that they use for fluoridation is an industrial waste product, which is contaminated with a number of other toxins in small quantities, though still significant, particularly arsenic. And we get the fluoride that for instance, Burlington uses hydrofluorosilicic acid. And hydrofluorosilicic acid comes from the wet scrubbers of the phosphate fertilizer industry, which, as we said earlier, has crippled cattle throughout central Florida when it's emitted into the air. So this is the product that we use for fluoridation. It's an industrial waste product. And
So, is there a group of people who feel like fluoridating the water supply is good, but it should be done with pharmaceutical grade fluoride, not this industrial waste product?
yes, that is definitely there's a group of people out there which are making that's their approach. Fluoride itself is highly toxic. 1 teaspoon of fluoride will kill an adult. Actually, fluoride is more acutely toxic than lead. Whatever product that you add to fluoride, add to the water supply, whatever fluoride product is going to be toxic.
Okay, any final calls? Give us a shout, 656-4399. Otherwise, I think this is a good point. You feel like you've covered most of the basics there?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more to the discussion as far as going, the health concerns or whatnot. But I would suggest that for people out there, just a little bit of reading if you get the chance. There's a lot of information online. One website, actually, which I run is www.fluoridealert.org.
Fluoridealert.org.
Yeah, and you
Check it
spell
out.
fluoride fluoride is spelled F-L-U-O-R-I-D-E. A lot of people spell the O before the U, but it's really U-O. So,
So confusing.
yeah,
It's
one of those
amazing,
Like
good
things.
fluoride almost.
Fluoride.
Fluoride.
fluoridealert.org. And if you want, I'm from here on out, I'm going to be trying to get this stuff out of the water in Burlington, and trying to stop Burlington's been fluoridating since 1956, back in the days when we spread DDT on children. I think it's time to relook at the issue, reconsider it. I would love to see a public referendum where Burlington citizens can actually make the choice, make the decision themselves whether they still want to be ingesting this stuff on a daily basis. If people want to contact me and get involved, my telephone number is 859-3363. I would love to hear from people who are interested in working on this issue. I think we can do it. I definitely think we can do it here in Burlington.
Okay, well, Mr. Fluoride, thank you for being on the show.
Thank you.
May I suggest that you also purchase the domain name fluoridealert.org with fluoride misspelled the way everyone, and have it mirror link to your site.
Wasn't there one that the dental association said?
Yeah, a year after, interestingly enough, the site had been online last summer, the American Dental Association, which is this pathetic, if anyone wants to use the word pathetic, it's the American Dental Association. They've been advocating the use of mercury amalgams for 150 years. Millions of people in this country have had mercury loaded into their mouth under the guise of silver fillings when it's really mercury. ADA is very much of a bunch of lawyers trying to avoid liability. Anyway, the American Dental Association, a year after our website went online, bought fluoridealert.com and now redirects visitors, because a lot of people who go to our site put .com instead of .org. So now if you do that, you get redirected to the ADA's fluoridation facts page.
Wow.
And interestingly enough, the ADA did that. They bought our site. They bought fluoridealert.com right the same week that we put up this big special report on the phosphate fertilizer industry and the industrial source of fluoride chemicals.
They be scumbags.
And actually, that week, Cargill Fertilizer was the main visitor to our website. So we
Who?
put Cargill Fertilizer, which is one of the main suppliers of the fluoridation chemical. So we do this, on the home page was this big report on the phosphate fertilizer industry, which you can still get at the website. And we put that up. Cargill Fertilizer, the main visitor, and the ADA buys fluoridealert.com. Obviously, that might have no relation whatsoever, but anyway, fluoridealert.org.
Wow. Okay. Thanks for coming on. We'll have to have you on again, maybe with someone from the other side of the issue.
Quick yay or nay. I'm sure a lot of people out there are wondering about bottled water fluoride.
Bottled water generally has much less fluoride than fluoridated water. If you're going to be using the same bottled water for a while, you might want to get it tested at a lab. But you can feel pretty confident that it's going to be at least 10 times less than fluoridated water.
Okay. Thanks for listening. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week when hopefully we'll have the lazy songwriter as well as other guests. Just for you, Ninja, we had the Clash going in the background. Sorry you couldn't hear it.
No, thank you very much for that. I'm sure myself and
This time
the German doctor will be very happy.
Ah.